Welcome everyone to Flexcon March 2021.
How long has it been?
It's been a few months. We took a little hiatus
For good reason. Good reason.
For several reasons, yes. Yeah. But we are back. Eb and I are back. This is Flexcon. This is a digital conference that highlights everything around remote working, remote professionals, their mental health, the struggles, the successes, so many things around remote professionals and a remote lifestyle. And we have some great panelists today. Eb, what do you have to say?
So I feel as if I haven't seen you in forever, but we talk at least twice a week, but I'm talking about seeing you forever on Flexcon. So I'm really excited. Everyone knows I love Flexcon. If we can do this in person, like I would be the one with the beach ball in the crowd, just like all over the place. So I'm excited. Please stay tuned for what we have to announce with what we have been coming up with Incluzion as to why we took the hiatus. Definitely put your comments in, definitely give us feedback. We know that you can't physically talk to us, but we'll definitely be in the comments and, just going. So today we have a cool panel that we will be bringing to you. We have Konata Nicholson. He is a veteran to Flexcon since he's been on the stage before. We also have Krista Garrett. She is the owner of Garrett Music Academy and I Am Flawsome out in Maryland. And then we also have Dr. John Mason of Mason on Fire and a whole lot of other entities that he has under his belt. So with that, we are everybody to the stage so we can have a conversation.
Oh, I just banged on my camera and I lost connection to my camera. That's horrible. What? Bring everybody on stage while I get off stage. My drum roll killed the camera. I'll be back.
Next time we need to use a phone version of the drum roll. So while Jabril fixes his camera, let's do intros. Who wants to go first? We can go left to right, up, down, left. I feel like I'm in the Brady Bunch, like part of this. Like, you know how they used to do the show? Like, that's how I feel. Hello, Morgan. How are you?
Now you know you're showing your age, right?
Who? Me? I'm an 80s baby. I always say that.
Half your audience doesn't know what the Brady Bunch is.
So we're going to do a recap just for inclusion, what the Brady Bunch is when I have time. Welcome, Krista. Introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Ed. My name is Krista Garrett. I own the Garrett Music Academy. It's a private music school in Maryland. I also own I Am Flawsome, which is a mental health consultation company. And I am passionate about mental health. I have my degrees in psychology. I have minors in music, and happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's next?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
The beauty of headphones. I'll jump in there. Good afternoon. I'm happy to be back. My name is Konata Nicholson, first of all. I'm happy to be back on Flexcon. Thank you guys for having me as well. I am the CEO and co-founder of an organization called Hip Hop Gives Back, as well as a company called KJN Legacy, which helps people with personal and professional development and improving their communication skills. And with that, I have developed a few different programs that I think will help people through these difficult times that hopefully we can speak on briefly as well. So I'm just happy to be a part, looking forward to the conversation and looking forward to learning as well.
Mr. Dr. John Mason, we're going to remove the doctor. We're going to remove the doctor for today because I knew the comment was about to come out. Mr. John Mason.
Now, the beauty of this is folks treat you differently when you are introduced as Dr. Anything. So John is good. I was just going to put Mason, but that was going to confuse everybody. So introductions. I am a lifelong educator, currently involved with Upward Bound Programs outside of Atlanta. My shtick, if you would, is K through 16 education. I believe that there are false stops and starts for our kids. And if we removed all of those, they literally would excel at levels that they've never seen before. Secondarily, my goal is to make a college-going experience the birthright of every Black and brown child. Because right now, they still believe that that is something that they have to earn, not something that is given to them. Put those things together, what you find is that I'm an advocate for emerging leaders, specifically youth, as well as those who serve youth. I love leadership development. I cannot do enough to empower those who are empaths by training. Those people who literally have that sensitivity to know when a kid is just not a bad kid. They've just got some really, really messed up information rattling around in their head. So that's a slight bit. Oh yeah, and by the way, I also do Mason on Fire, and that's sort of the brand under which we're going to launch a whole lot of stuff, including books, leadership development conferences, and speaking engagements. This paid political announcement was approved by me.
I see we were going to have so much fun today. And if you ever need a laugh, just go back to the replay on YouTube. So with that, I am so glad to have all three of you on stage at the same time, because I know that each one of you bring a special dynamic to the universe. Let me say that. And today's discussion is going to be based around mindset, self-care, and flex work. So we do have some questions that we wanted to. Did we introduce ourselves, Jabril? Like,
I was just thinking. I was like, well, first of all,
right,
we need to introduce ourselves, and then we also need to
those who don't know us.
Well, I'll real quick. So I am, of course, I'm the founder of Incluzion. I'm a guy that is just really passionate about remote work, and I'm passionate about anything that uplifts diverse communities, right? And so that's what I do. That's my passion. So I could give you a title, a spill, a background, but just take me off that, right? To take me from that passion, right? And I don't know. That's it. Go ahead, Eb. I do want to talk about why our panel discussion is the way it is today also. So.
Okay, that'll work. So I am Eb, taking away the title of COO. I try not to bust Jabril around not too much. And I love the fact that we are all remote. We really support our community, which is Black, Brown, Latinx, women professionals, not just in tech, but anywhere where remote work is supported. I am also the engagement enthusiast for the community that we have online of inclusion.co. Also Clubhouse host and a whole lot of other stuff, which is why Jabril wants to explain the format for today.
Yeah, so we chose this format today specifically. We went back and forth. Do we do a Flexcon event on a Clubhouse, right? And so one of the things we want to be able to do is provide as much free content, no charge, to the professionals that are out there that is absorbing this type of content. Anything around remote work, or anything around upskilling, anything around just making us better as a whole, so we can go out there and be economically and financially independent as possible, even if we're working at a 9-to-5, right? And that's one of the things that we believe remote work does. It democratizes access to high paid, high quality economic empowerment opportunities, however, whatever form it comes in, right? And so in order to do that, we didn't want to be restrictive by just focusing on providing a panel on Clubhouse. So we're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course, Twitter as well. So if you're watching us out there, drop a comment, say hello. If you're on Twitter, unfortunately, we won't see the comments, but hey, hop over to YouTube or whatever, say hello. And if you have any questions for the panelists as well, feel free to drop your comment and we'll put it on the screen and let the panelists have at it.
Definitely. Hello, Martin. I'll see you on Tuesday in Clubhouse. T.S. Ellis, thank you for always supporting us. I do see that you're out of town. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So with that, we are going to get into the questions. You can jump right in, raise your hand, thumbs up, whatever you need to. But we really want to focus on, as I said again, we're going to reset the room on the stage. So we are talking about mindset, self-care, and also flex work. So with that, of course, I didn't realize that March 11th was the first year anniversary of us officially going on lockdown. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm glad to know that. And then, you know, looking at what the whole past 365 days was like, it's been challenging, but I also don't have any complaints. But with that, how has COVID challenged you mentally and emotionally? Like when you first, let's go back a year ago, like when you first was like, oh my gosh, we're on lockdown versus where you are today. Like how has that impacted you mentally and emotionally?
I'll start. For me, being a music school at that point, it was full panic because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're shutting down. We are being shut down by our state. How am I going to pay my employees? How am I going to pay my teachers? What am I going to do? And that's when that's when I had to take a deep breath after freaking out. But the freaking out forced me to think creatively, and we were already starting to pivot online and start doing virtual lessons. And we put our toe in the water. And because it did work, it was just a mad scramble to get every single teacher remotely set up, getting the word out to our students that we could do online lessons, and really trying to sell that idea to our clients so that we could maintain operations. And I think I want to say it took us probably about a week of being down before we could and we had hiccups for the first 3 weeks. But once we got everybody online, I would say at first there were about 25% of our students taking lessons, and then we were able to get them up to about 50%. So it kept us operating, and it also gave the teachers hope that they could continue doing what meant most to them, to maintain some type of positive mindset, to be able to have some interaction because we were so isolated in our homes. But it also gave our clients hope that they had something, an outlet of some sort that they could go to relieve some of the stress and anxiety they were feeling by all the unknowns and by going completely radio silent and having to now be in front of a screen as opposed to leaving their homes and doing their daily routines. So it was scary at first, but once we got into a routine, I think it relieved everybody's fears.
Right.
And it gave them something to look forward to, and it gave them something, it gave them some hope where it seemed hopeless, I guess is the best way to put it. But it forced us to get creative, and it also allowed us to bring on teachers that were out of state that we normally would not have had the ability to work with. So it was a curse at first, but it became a blessing.
I want to touch on that point really quickly. Being able to bring in teachers that normally you wouldn't be able to work with. What was their reaction? What was their response to being provided with that opportunity? Especially, during a time when they were probably at home as well. But I mean, just talk about that really quickly.
Well, every musician, our big money is gigging out. It's playing events, it's playing shows, and that's gone. Mm-hmm. I started seeing colleagues that were doing living room concerts for PayPal and praying that they would be able to pay their rent at the end of the month. So for a lot of teachers, they were scared because their home studios, they weren't set up to take in their clients. So as soon as we went online and they knew that they could work with their own students in their own area, but also reach out and branch out to other regions, it made a huge difference because, again, it started to fill in the holes that other income would not provide. So it it opened up a whole other world for these teachers that were able to get supplemental income for other, in ways that they would not have had, given that we couldn't play live anymore.
As a business, with reopening and everyone opening back up to a certain extent, certain capacities, what's your plan going forward to still work with a remote group of teachers, of musicians, of instructors like that?
Well, we got the order here in Maryland on Wednesday. Our governor gave us the order that we could open back up 100% capacity in person as long as we maintain social distancing and masks. I will tell you that we're going to inch into that only because we don't want to rush into something and then have to back out of it. But also, there are a number of students that are outside of our area, and there are a lot of our teachers that are in the high risk category that prefer to teach remotely, and they're good teachers and they're successful at teaching remotely. So we're going to leave that alone. We're going to let them do that, because this is about the teacher being successful and doing what they love, but it's also about making sure that we have success on our client side. And if the clients are happy with the product, and the clients are learning music and they're having fun, and and the chemistry is right with that teacher, you leave it alone.
Yeah.
You leave it alone. And the other thing that we learned also through COVID, that is something that we're getting ready to launch, is we're starting a mental health teen program that we're going to launch in person and also virtually. That is going to then open up a whole new world for those children that have been isolated through COVID and have developed depression, anxiety, difficult peer relationships, difficult parent relationships, and really teaching them how to write, and then pairing them up with a teacher that's going to help them write a song, and then we're going to record it. So it's a whole thing where the remote side, you can be very creative. You don't have to be face to face with someone in person to still have that creative outlet. And we've learned that, and we're going to keep it that way.
Great point.
So speak to it from because we have a lot of parents that, listen to us and tune in and follow us. How was it for you emotionally and mentally with 3 kids under the age of 10 and, homeschooling and a whole lot of other stuff, because that's a whole different mental and emotional approach when COVID first happened?
The fact that I still have hair in my head is a miracle, because there were days where I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Yeah, because it's hard. I have twin girls. And when we went into lockdown, and then I have a little boy, and he's about 3 years younger than his sisters. And when we went into lockdown, it literally went from 5 days a week at school to literally shut down. So I had 3 children, 2 in 2nd grade and 1 in pre-K, that I had to start homeschooling, and trying to work out that schedule and try to do my work at the same time. There were lots of hiccups, but what I did learn through that process, and we've kind of streamlined it as we went along, is that I had to accept the fact that we were in this whole new world. I had to accept the fact that I wasn't perfect and I was going to have some off days, and I had to accept that it was going to be really hard on my kids, that they were not going to be able to see their friends. They were not going to be able to go to the playground. They were not going to be able to go to birthday parties. They were not going to have sports or any other fun. And once I finally got into that mindset of knowing that it wasn't just about me, and everything around me was chaotic, but it was even worse for them, that's when I had to take a deep breath and go, okay, this is a hot mess. I have to accept that it's a hot mess. And we're just going to navigate it day by day. And it got down to the point where I was doing it minute by minute to not lose my mind. But I think if you took steps to breathe and just realize the fact that you're going to have a 3-ring circus going on around you, but the fact that we had this technology where my kids could continue doing school and they could see their friends online. We're not going to get into pre-K online. That's a whole other topic for a whole other day. I don't know if we have enough time for that one, but the fact that they could see their friends online, I could continue doing my work while being physically with them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I didn't have to commute. I didn't have to worry about making dinner. I didn't have to, I could do all that literally. I could be doing it with my foot while I was teaching piano, you know? So, it got to be normal where my kids needed something. They could come into the lesson and my clients were happy to see my kids. So it was a mixed blessing because I could be with my family. I developed a balance and my kids still had their heads, everything, all appendages were still attached and they still got an education.
I think with a lot of the uproar around cancel culture, one of the things I appreciate being canceled is having to be perfect in a meeting. That perfection that was there. Even now, we were talking about before we went live, we were talking about TikTok, and I see so many times where someone will do a TikTok now and, you know, no makeup on, you know, it's just they're dressed down. There isn't that need, that Instagram type of need for perfection anymore, right? And that is translated into meetings and into so many areas of our lives.
No, you could be business on the top and you can have pajamas on the bottom and nobody will know the difference.
That's that Folgers commercial I think of all the time. There's a Folgers commercial and the camera pans down.
Oh yeah, no, I showed up to many a lesson with business on the top and pajama bottoms. Oh yeah.
So Konata, like, how has it affected you mentally, emotionally with this whole COVID thing? Either one of you can go.
This has been the longest pandemic, or I should say interruption of education. Only from the standpoint, and here's the history lesson for the day, and I'm not going to belabor this point. We're operating off of a system of education that is about 100 years too old. So the aspect of sitting in rows, face to face in front of the genius in front of the board, that paradigm died in the 1700s, but we still use it. So this, in many ways, is the best thing that could have ever happened to education. The only problem is there was no gradual rollout of it. As Krista was saying, we're face to face today. Y'all are going home tomorrow. Now you have to find a way to do everything that you were doing before. And for me, because we operate under a federal grant, there are certain things that the federal government could care less about in terms of, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to remove some of these things because you just can't do them. No, they expect us to continue doing them. Find a way. Just do it. And for me, the stress was not an issue of what do I do? The issue was how do I do it quickly? And I had to sort of go into my bag of tricks because the infrastructure for the job doesn't move nearly as quickly as some other things. So for me, I already had a Zoom account set up. It was already set up to do large numbers. So we just moved meetings, we just moved conferences, we just moved presentations to that Zoom account until the job could figure out what platform it wanted to use. They chose GoToMeeting. I said, I'm not interested. So my program has an educational Zoom account. They said, what we'd like to do is make sure that you meet at least twice a month. I said, yeah, my kids need a little bit more contact than that. So we met weekly. They said, we really think that we're still going to be able to get on campus for the summer, for our 6-week summer program. I said, I would love some of whatever you're smoking because it's not going to happen. And needless to say, that was the biggest challenge. Putting together a 6-week summer program that was virtual was nothing more than a nightmare. It turned out amazingly for many of the reasons why that Krista mentioned. I was able to get teachers in other locations to assist, because all you do is check in online, go to your classroom, do whatever you need to do, switch to another link, and go from there. So it worked. It worked really, really well. But you had to become a subject matter expert very quickly. And this is where I'm sort of going to introduce this. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about this for our time together. It's easy to detect the temperature of a student mentally and emotionally when they're in front of you. You can tell when they're off. When all you have is a picture that looks like this, because most of the kids, this is exactly what you get. If you get that, it becomes very difficult to ascertain exactly emotionally where they are. Mentally, where are you? Are you having struggles? Is home okay? And what I'm finding is our demographic is probably about 52% Latinx, Black, and Asian. School was their way out of stress.
Right.
That was their safe space. Now they are forced back into the environment that has the greatest stressors for them, and there is no removal. This was their opportunity to say, I can't watch the kids because I've got to go to school. It's now that excuse is taken away. So now they become big brother, big sister, star student, breadwinner on the weekends. And it was tough. I'm finding some kids that have never seen a B in their entire academic life crumbling under the weight of being disengaged from human contact. And although looking at a square is great, when this is 8 hours a day, every day, I don't know that the professionals ever believed that that level of pressure would be cumulative over time, but it is.
Well, real quick. So one of the things that, our focus has been on, of course, remote work, but when you're talking about remote education at all levels, right? And learning remotely at all levels, what has been some of the ways that you've overcome the challenges, in being able to transition to this remote learning environment?
I sent all of my staff through a program called Mental Health First Aid Training. And it's specifically a lay person training where you are given the tools. It's a 3-year certification. You're given the tools to notice and to understand what may be going on with somebody. What does it look like? How does it present itself? That was the first thing, because they needed that. Number 2, set up the protocols that if a student is in trouble, what are you going to do? How are you going to partner with the school? How are you going to tell the student that help is available? Number 3, during our call every week, I could care less unless you are at work and you're going to get fired. I need your camera on. I need to look into your eyes. I need to know if you are okay. We had an entire mental health and welfare program that we rolled out. Why is this important? It's little things.
Drink water.
Drink water. Make sure that you have stress relief.
I have a yellow one. He gave it to me. I was like, are you trying to tell me something?
Make sure that
you, my 40th birthday. Like, who does that?
Make sure that you have stress relief. And as crazy as this sounds, something this simple is used by our students every single day. Instead of them hitting someone, giving them tips and tactics on how to decompress, making sure that on a day like this in Atlanta, get outside. When you have a break, sun actually has curative powers. They didn't just make it up. Go sit outside somewhere. Get some air into your lungs. Get some sun onto your skin. Things of that nature we do. Plus, bring in the professionals to give them opportunities. If you need help, here's a number. If you need somebody to talk to, here are numbers. If you need to reach out, if you're in crisis, we don't want to read about you in the paper or on the news. What we want is for you to reach out and say, listen, I'm not doing well. And the last piece, having students check on their peers. Because we knew very quickly, y'all will know long before any adult does. And as Krista says, she still got her hair. Yeah, unfortunately, mine was jet black at the beginning of last year. That doesn't work anymore. You've got to do something with your stress. You've got to know how to literally have a self-care plan. And you've heard this talked about a million times before. Y'all, it's real. If you don't know what you're going to do to unpack stuff, you're not going to. It's going to eat you alive. So all of these different folks who are pulling at you and taking your strength and taking your energy, at the end of the night, you have nothing. You have simply nothing left. And if you don't have a self-care plan, you're good for about a month, maybe two. By that third month, they don't want to be bothered with you because you're evil. You're short with folks. You're taking folks' heads off. And they're like, what is wrong with him? The cumulative effect of everybody you had to deal with without an outlet to detox all of that stuff. So, Jabril, all of those are the things that I would stress to anyone. Have a plan. Have a protocol. Because when you're in the middle of an emergency, that's not the time to develop a protocol. Because if you don't know what you're going to do, you're not going to do it. Simply put, you won't do it.
So have you had a lot of faculty that just said, I'm done, I'm walking away from this? And I ask that because we've partnered with a school here in Atlanta through my dad's nonprofit, and the teachers are like totally disengaged. You're like, we can't do this. And I mean, not all of them are, but they're at the point of the stress level. And to your point, like the stress level is way high. It's like, I don't even want to log on, let alone be engaged to, tell little Johnny that he did a great job on his test. So how did you, have you dealt with that? Because here we are trying to help this school become re-engaged. I mean, the PTA just went completely away. A lot of things of what the adults would normally do, they're like, we're not doing it anymore. And rightfully so in some instances. But then at the same time, those who suffer are the ones that are, the younger kids and stuff like that. So have you had to deal with that on the faculty side of them just throwing in a towel and walking away?
True story. In the district that we support, they started with saying you could not fire anyone. You could not fail anyone. That put such pressure on faculty that you can't even imagine. Because now we go back to the participation trophy era, where you go to school, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be promoted to the next level, whether you've learned anything or not. They then reconsidered that during the summer, and they said, okay, you can fail them, but only under these circumstances. Now, parents are caught in the middle of a bloodbath because little Johnny is failing. the teacher is now having to contend with parents who don't understand why little Johnny is failing. The teacher shows the parent a blank sheet of paper, which includes every assignment that little Johnny has ever turned in. Now little Johnny's in trouble by the teacher and the parent, and we roll into the fall. Now the fall is a free-for-all. Everybody's tired of instruction online. They're tired of being disengaged. And what happens? Now you can fire anybody at will. Good students are turning into bad students. Bad students are turning into worse students. Students who just have no aptitude to learn online because they've never been taught how to excel in that format are feeling completely out of scope. It's not a matter that they can't, but nobody ever taught them how to do it. How do you stay engaged when everything in your world is a box that big? It's not real to them. It's almost like a video game. The only problem is I can't shoot you. That's the difference. So we're playing a video game for 8 hours a day, hoping that something's going to get better. Retention of information is down to almost nothing. And yes, faculty members want out, and they want out quickly. They would rather do something else with their lives because they don't feel that they're making a difference in this paradigm. They want out.
Now we're going to dive a little bit more into solutions around that.
Yeah.
Around that out. Konata, we want to thank you for patiently waiting as well. And we want to ask you that same question. I mean, what has been your challenges, that you've kind of gone through over this past year?
Excuse me. Both John and what Krista was saying, I agree with wholeheartedly. So I was trying to think of what else, what other angles or what else I could contribute that maybe wasn't covered. And the only other thing that I could really think of was my view was different because I was outside when a lot of people were locked down. I'm here in Atlanta, and I do a lot of work with a company called Gooder. So they were considered essential workers. So they were out providing food to families in need and things of that sort. So I would go with them to help provide the food, prepare the food, things like that. So I was, at the time of lockdown back in April, I would be the one on I-20 and be the only car on the road driving to where they were giving out this food.
It's hard to imagine. To imagine, but it was real. It
looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead. That's right. That's how it was. So being able to contribute on that end of it helped me a lot. You know what I mean? Because I still had that type of in-person connection, fully masked up in gloves, of course, but it was still personal connections I was able to have outside of people outside of the home. So I would be able to bring that energy home, and especially dealing with my daughter. She was a senior in high school. So, losing that second half of her senior year was traumatizing. No prom, no graduation, no senior day or any of that stuff. So trying to, explain it to her and still be considerate of how she was feeling, it was tough. It was tough. So that's the parent part that I tried to get her to understand. She did a great job, like a lot of the teens did. They understand, people are dying. We've never dealt with things like this before. So they did a pretty good job, but it would still, like Krista was saying, how can we get the interaction for them so that they still feel connected to their friends? They still feel like what they're doing matters on a daily basis. So that's another part where I started introducing my daughter again to meditation. Meditation is something, I know I'm getting into the solution part of it, but meditation was something that helped me in addition to doing the things with Gooder. I am a full-on advocate that everyone should find some form of meditation that they should be using. Try to stay away from medication. Let's stay on the meditation side if need be. But that is something that, I went from doing, say, 3 or 4 times a week to multiple times a day. And that helped me to deal with the different stresses and the different anxieties that I would normally have felt, or the feeling of overwhelmment that I know a lot of other people dealt with, and it kind of manifested with people overeating or drinking more or doing all kinds of other negative traits to deal with what was going on with the pandemic. So like I said, meditation was a big one for me, prayer as well. But like I said, me having that outlet of actually helping people and doing something physically, that was also a big plus for me. So I would start recommending to my other clients, you got to find a way to, I forgot who was saying about being outside in the sun. John, you were saying being outside in the sun and just standing on the ground barefoot and just being grounded and connecting to it is really a great way of being, taking full control of your mindset and what you really want to understand. So that's what I was dealing with. Like you said, you both excellently touched on what it was like on the teacher aspect, because I teach DJ classes online, but you both covered that as well. So I don't think we need to rehash that at this time.
No, talk about that. No.
Okay. I'll keep it brief. So I normally teach DJ classes in person. It's very, hands-on, very hand-eye coordinated. But, not being able to do that, it did, like you said, it did provide an opportunity where I was picking up new clients in other states. So I was teaching a group of kids in Baltimore, Maryland, through a program that they were running called the MRI programs, where they would teach them, they would learn their school stuff and they would get tutoring during the day. And then I would come on, and that's kind of somewhat of a relief, teach them about DJing. And that was a huge challenge because I'm used to showing them like, no, push this button, no, this is how you load that song. So becoming familiar with the screen sharing and the different angles of the cameras, I had to learn pretty quickly, like we all did. It was a slingshot into it, and it wasn't always as smooth as we all have learned, but it was something that allowed me to reach out and talk to the kids there. And one of the things that did allow me to help connect with them was making it as personable as possible. So since they were in the Baltimore area, I would ask, what are your most popular, what songs you guys listening to up there? Is it different from Atlanta? Is it different from other places around the country? And we would make different playlists around what they were listening to, you know what I mean? And I would ask them like, well, how does this song make you feel right now? Is this something that's is an uplifting song for you? Is this something that motivates you? Or is it something that puts you kind of in a zone where you want to mellow out and kind of tune everybody else out? And I would get to know each one of the students on a week-to-week basis on, through their musical personalities of what they were really dealing with. So that allowed more empathetic connection than I would have had before when instead of just giving them the X and O's of DJ.
So the funny thing is, I'm just realizing that, and I didn't even realize this when I put all three of you on the panel, that all three of you are tied to music in some kind of way. Like I didn't even realize that until everyone, we were talking about TikTok, and Mason is known for finding the violins on the trees and all this other stuff. And with you being DJ and stuff like that, and Krista like seriously, it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning. Get these text messages like, why? Even though I'm up working, why? But it's cool how the three of you go back to that as a form of therapy. And in its own right, because at the end of the day, regardless of what it is, from the type of music you listen to, and as you said, what type of mood does it put you in and everything else, like that's something that we all need to gravitate towards too, of what's the song of the day to help us get through whatever we're dealing with.
Right. Yeah. As we all know, I've been impacted, especially by DJs, and they basically saying, DJs saved a lot of lives during this pandemic because, with the Instagram takeover, and now with a lot of them moving over to Twitch, mm-hmm. So people would say this is how I make it through my day, is by connecting with people through the music. So many other new DJ careers have been launched during the pandemic because of that connection and the music that was being played. It's opened up really a whole nother realm for DJs, which I was more than ecstatic about. And the feedback that I get from people on what it's doing for them on a daily basis, and still now, even as most states, well, Atlanta was kind of first to open all the way back up, but even as other states are now catching up and opening up as well, it's still going to be an ongoing thing into the future. Just like online learning is going to be here. They say it's going to triple in size by the year 2024, and that may be an understatement. So it's just such a key that I'm glad we had and we continue to have as well.
Definitely. So let's see. We don't have any comments, but Mike, the other half of Hip Hop is Back, has in. Hello, Mike. Nice to see you.
What's going on?
Yeah. So going into the next question, why do you think the topic of mental health is still taboo in some companies? Because we can talk about it freely, because so to give you the history of Flexcon, of how we really started focusing on mental health and really making sure that our members of the inclusion community had an outlet, was when we first came into the pandemic, Jabril and I was like, okay, we don't have a physical location anyway, but let's keep this going. So we used to do Flexcon back to back. And then it was like, it was getting a lot, on us. And it was like, well, let's go every other month. But we started talking about the topics that people didn't want to talk about: imposter syndrome, depression, and a whole lot of other stuff. And we've even had our, come to self moments as we've been talking to each other out in the audience. So why do you think that mental health is still that, oh, let's not talk about it in certain companies? Like, to me, it's still crazy how we have to shy away from certain things, but yet we're the ones that's helping this company make money. But I can't be honest of feeling as if I want to walk in the middle of the road and not be alive anymore. And I'm just using that as an example, but how many people have even thought that today, just waking up?
You bring up a question, but you also know the answer. Mental health is still tied to insanity. Let's be transparent. There are so many stages and impacts of mental health. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about Jack the Ripper. We want to talk about serial killers. We want to talk about Columbine. We want to talk about outcomes that are negative. And when you put that filter on top of the fact that for some, we're already afraid of doctors, and we don't want to go to anybody who literally may say, mentally, you're not sound. Now you're reinforcing things that I have heard my entire life. Boy, you crazy. Why don't we want anybody to talk to you? Because you're crazy. You're not like the rest of the kids. You're crazy. Many of our children are so highly medicated, it's ridiculous. Because even though Konata was joking, let's throw some medicine at it. We don't want to treat it. We just want to control it. Let's anesthetize anyone who has an issue rather than find what out the core is and resolve it. And the companies, it's all about risk management, I fear. I fear it's about risk management, because the more they can control the situation and have no negative outcomes, the better they like it. So now we've entered into a don't ask, don't tell. Mm-hmm. Are you on medication? I don't want to hear about it. You need time off to go see a therapist? I don't want to hear about that. You put in your time, I'll approve the time. I don't want to know where you're going. I don't know what you're doing. That's not part and parcel of our lives. And it's interesting because if you look at the statistics, only recently have most of the major companies now decided that a healthy work environment and a healthy living scenario is in their best interest. Oh, we want you to quit smoking. Oh, we want you to lose weight. Oh, we want you to deal with stress. Now, why? Because their employees were dropping out like flies.
It's about money.
It's about money. It's a risk management perspective. And it's sad to say, but Eb and I have had this conversation about 9 gazillion times about the widget philosophy. Mm-hmm. As long as I can pick up another one, put it in place, and keep the gears working, that's all most companies care about. They do not care about the welfare of their employees, let alone the health.
I would agree with you in corporate terms because it's a herd mentality. I would challenge that point of view in small business, and I'll tell you why. Because with small business, and as a small business owner, it costs me more to find another widget to fit into my little cogs here than it is to take care of the people that come in my door that I have already paid to train and provide benefits for. So for small businesses, it's more advantageous to look at their physical, emotional, spiritual, mental health than it is to kick the can down the road, because it's about the people. Because again, we're in a smaller environment, and we want to take care of those of us that are working together in close quarters, and we want them to be well. And there's more, I think, invitation to discuss those things in the open because they're not stigmatized in smaller environments. But also when you look at it from a cost benefit, it costs the small business owner less to invest in their people and their mental health and give them, I would much rather have my people have a mental health day and go and sit in the sunshine and get some fresh air and go get something good to eat and take a nap than I would to have them sitting like a zombie in that front office trying to pretend that they're okay. Because that just exacerbates it. Corporate mentality, Mason, you and I are on the same page. It's all about herds and making sure that they've got butts in seats and making sure that and it is stigmatized. They don't want to know about that because their insurance rates go up. Their costs go up. So it is about $1 in a lot of these instances, but when you get into small business, I think that it's about the people, not the dollar.
And you raised something great about small businesses, because even on the inclusion side, even in our conversations of executive meetings, we want to be able to welcome everyone who has a remote position available to post on our jobs board. Because again, even though, and it's funny because Jabril and I have had this conversation. What if someone is a music teacher? Can they, so if you have virtual teachers or a virtual world for teachers, and someone who may have been on John's faculty that's like, I'm done, but they have a love for music, they can then go to somewhere like the Inclusion Jobs Board to see your opportunity posting, because I know jobs is the technical term, but we call it opportunity, an opportunity for someone to really be their best selves with the company that they want to work with, not work for. So getting more small business owners to say, hey, I can work with remote teammates. Where do I find them? And that's what inclusion is about. It's not just, getting the high end jobs that, a small business, to me, I believe can pay 6 figures if they're making that amount of money. But still opening up the floodgates, so to speak, to our members, that if they want to go through a different career path, or say, I want to supplement my income, whatever that is, that people like you, all 3 of you are small business owners, can offer that opportunity for remote teammates.
And Ab, you make something very, very, that's a very interesting point, and I want to elaborate on that, because we did have a teacher who is a vocal teacher, voice teacher, and she's no longer working with us, unfortunately. But she was a well-renowned mezzo-soprano from the Peabody Conservatory. She had sung all over the world opera, and was a very successful opera singer. She had a stroke and was unable to perform anymore. And it was getting difficult for her to teach physically by leaving her home and going to the conservatory to teach. And we actually had to retrofit certain areas of our building to help her, because she insisted on wanting to teach in person to make herself feel, productive. but then it got too much. So for her to be able to continue teaching after having a stroke, she went virtual. And she was still able to teach her students her voice lessons without having to leave her house, without having to worry about her physical, the fact that her physicality of being able to move was no longer an issue for her. And that's another thing about being able to do virtual work, is that it takes those that don't have the ability to leave their home and may have transportation issues, may have a disability, may have health issues, that they can still be a productive member of their household or for themselves without even having to leave their home, and still being able to have a career.
Right.
Our core belief of, remote work democratizing access, right? Providing a democratization of access, right? So that right there, when you talk about working remotely, you can see it as a one-way street in many instances, but in terms of just independence, economic empowerment, it's a two-way street, because there are service providers that are working remotely, and then there are people who absorb that service, a customer in many instances. It's a two-sided marketplace. And in so many instances, you see some of the most wonderful startups now that are out here. They've had to build two-sided marketplaces. And in many instances, they've had to create a market, right? Or they had to create a need from the customer and develop that. COVID and this whole situation, I think that's one of the, minus all the other negatives around COVID, one of the blessings is it quickly acclimated both sides of the market to being able to utilize virtual technology. And so many more people now are going to, I believe that the people are definitely that are catching up, and the people who actually caught up and was able to capitalize off the opportunity to move over to remote and virtual, those people now have greater access to those opportunities that they wouldn't have had before because of this remote learning environment, remote teaching, remote service provider environment. So I just wanted to throw that out there when you talk about the fact that that teacher now has access to be able to provide her service virtually. Last year she could have put her service out there. 2019, she could have put her service out there, and there would have been people like, no, I don't want to, learn virtually. Why are you doing it virtually? I don't want to, it now it has realigned both sides of that market, right? And so I think that that's one of the pluses around it. And that's one of the things that we want to continue to push and to preach, is that, yes, this access is here now. It's democratized, diverse individuals. How do we access that? How do we capitalize off of that as remote workers, as professionals, as companies, and the total gamut?
Konata, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back where we're talking about big business, because, major size corporations, because I was with AT&T for 18 years, up until 3 years ago. And I didn't know I had any mental health benefits until that 18th year. So I think that making that knowledge available to employees has changed, of course, since then. But it's still not on the same level of going to the doctor, vision, dental, things of that sort. And even then, even when I found out, it wasn't on the same level. And I took the highest package of health insurance because it was just me and my daughter, so it wasn't too expensive for me. But even then, it would still, okay, you get 6 sessions with the therapist, and then after that, you're kind of on your own. Now, the first 6 sessions, they were great, but after that, there's an increased charge with it. So I think that's another big obstacle that major corporations and big business has, is making it affordable for families and individuals. So I think it has to come even further. They have to do even more than what has been done. Now, the different strides they've made since then, like I said, I haven't been involved with it in the last 3 years, but it's still not to that point. I try not to hammer it home, but I make it very clear to everyone I encounter, everyone should go to therapy, some type of therapy. Our therapists have therapists, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a benefit. And I always I'm very open about what my experience was like. And, you know, it was a lot of self-reflection, self-awareness. And it was really just several sessions of where I just got to talk and the person listened. It was several times at the end of those sessions, she would say 2 or 3 things, and that's all I would need. You know what I mean? It would put me on another direction of what I was trying to figure out, what I was trying to work through. Now it's not gonna be like that for everyone, but the point of it is making it affordable, more affordable for everyone. Because that, you know, as we all know, it directly affects the rest of our health. It directly affects our work output. It affects our work-life relationships that, you know, is kind of more of a buzzword now than it used to be. But it's still, more has to be done. It has to become more affordable. I'm thankful for the various doctors and therapists who offer the services for free for a lot of people who can't afford them, especially to markets such as that I'm a part of, you know, younger Black men or just minorities in general, you know. So we need more of that. We also need the corporations to step it up on that side as well.
So you raised a good point, because again, I'm realizing that I would say, well, Jabril is a life coach in his own right, so I'll pull him into this.
Well, real quick, because it's the top of the hour, one of the things I do enjoy about Clubhouse is resetting the room.
Yeah, we're gonna reset
and really refreshing the audience. We've had some very engaged commenters, Jasmine, Mike. We appreciate your comments. I've been flashing Jasmine's comments on the screen. She's been engaged into the conversation, and we definitely appreciate it. She's commented, and she's talking about the fact that everyone needs therapy, and I mean, this is it's very important. This is something that I think this is a reoccurring theme in all of our conversations and all of the Flexcon events that we've had. Why do we harp on one of the things that I was thinking about earlier? Why do we harp on some of the depressing parts of COVID? Why do we talk about that? Because we need to bring into context the solutions that many people are accessing now because of that, right? Whether it's work-related economic empowerment, whether it's finding access to jobs, but it also has realigned so many people around mental health, right? And the access to that in a virtual way. Walmart in Atlanta, if you live in Atlanta, because I checked for I'm from Pensacola, and I checked to see if it was accessible there as well. But if you have an Atlanta address, you can sign up for Walmart has counseling services for $60 an hour, right? Never heard of that as far as a price range goes, you know. For $60 an hour, you can access a counselor now. You know, if you live in the Atlanta area, it's virtual. So I don't know why it's not accessible in other areas based on your zip code or whatever, but in the Atlanta area, it is, right? So that's very important. But beyond that, to realign, you know, this is Flexcon. We talk about everything remote, anything remote, everything that's around remote, and the offshoots around upskilling, access to the job opportunities, economic empowerment opportunities, and so forth. So I just wanted to get that out there since it is 2:00 and it's the top of the hour. And thank you to everyone who has been engaged so far that's watching us. If you're on Twitter, we can't see your comments, or if you're on Periscope as well, we can't see your comments. But if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, we can definitely see your comments.
Definitely. So with everyone in their own right being a life coach in some type of way, how have you been able to not get overwhelmed with the people that you've interacted with because of the stresses that they've been going through? And I ask that question because I'll use my brother as an example. 6 months older than my son, and I'm 20 years older than he in some kind of way. Now I'm 20 years older than my sister. He's 6 months older than my son. He wants to become a life coach. So, you know, sitting down with him and I'm like, are you sure this is something you want to do? Because being a coach, period, you know, whatever it is, you know, I do life purpose, whatever your problem is, I'm here. It comes with a responsibility of being able to shake the vibes that you come in contact with, because you feel everything of what everyone is going through. So how have you been able to just woosah, so to speak, and not just be overwhelmed with what they're going through, because sometimes it's hard. Like, there are times where I would just pick one day out of the week to do all of my coaching because it just depletes me, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm pretty sure discussions that would have been happening in 2019, you know, when you've been doing these services or serving people, are totally different than what you have dealt with the year of 2020.
That was to me, right?
For anyone.
Okay.
For anyone.
Well, let me jump in real quick because, you know, many of the conversations that I've had, it is, I say that I've always tried to pay it forward and provide, even in an informal way, just different life lessons, you know, and coaching. And so that right there, just doing that over the years, you know, you have to learn with any professional, when you're engaging, you can only engage so much as far as emotionally, because you don't want that emotional burden to become your emotional burden, right? Because then that affects how you talk to other people, how you counsel others, right? So unfortunately, fortunately, and unfortunately, you have to create what I call a balance, right? Or boundary, work-life boundary. So even if you're working as a counselor, even if you're doing it formally or informally, you have to create that boundary personally, you know, in order to effectively provide that service, that counseling. So that's just my 2 cents there, and what I normally would do.
To talk about what Jabril just said about balance. So for me, what I try to do is I try to space out the amount of time that I give in a day to working with others. Mm-hmm. So I'll do a block each day, but I'll pick one day that I don't do any at all.
Right. So
I'll do 4 days of work, and then I'll have one day to kind of decompress. I'll still be working, but I won't be interacting with anyone else on any of those lessons. So I found that has worked. The other thing that I found is journaling is huge. Being able to write out everything, whether it's doing a series of gratitudes or if it's just doing a brain dump, really helps get it up and out. And it's been said in this conversation, having my own therapist. And every 2 weeks I go, and this morning was my 2-week morning where I went and for an hour just unleashed every, thought and demon that I've been carrying around for 2 weeks. And the good thing is that therapists have their own therapists, and that's true. I mean, you have to have someone that you can debrief with, whether it's a friend, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a book that you write in, whether it's going outside and talking to God outside. I mean, that's another thing, is having conversations with God, and also reading my Bible. I mean, those are things that are all ways of releasing all that pent up emotion. Because if you are an empath, which most of us who do this type of work, whether you're a musician, whether you're working with children, whether you're working with adults, you're an empath, and you're going to absorb the emotions and words that someone is going to expel at you. And you have to find a way to find an outlet that you can release that somewhere. And the one thing that I haven't mentioned that's key to, I think, all three of us here, is music.
Yeah.
Sitting down and playing an instrument, sitting and singing a song, no matter where you are, the loudest you possibly can. Those are all ways to express and release all of that emotion as well. So that's just some things that I do, but that's, the way that I can debrief and decompress. Plus stress ball. I want one of Mason's stress balls. I have a stress ball, but not one that has the eyes.
Can you bring that back on screen there, John, real quick?
Yeah, they come in different colors. What color do you want?
I want the pink because I want the glitter.
Oh, all of them have glitter. That's the brain.
It's actually lethargic watching that. Just
I
watching
know, it's
it.
like-
Just
Woo, sparkly.
I'll make sure to send everyone who doesn't have one on this call a stress ball.
All right, I'm happy. I get a brain stress ball. I'm happy.
Okay, what color do you want, Konata and Jabril? Like, do you have a preference? Do you care?
No, whatever you got, I'll take it. Excuse me.
I need two because my daughter's gonna take one though.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
I was just gonna add that, you know, when it comes to the type of, I don't even really like calling it coaching. It's more like reality revealing, because I only speak about what I know, you know. So I deal with a lot of people who are trying to figure out their identity, trying to figure out what ladder they want to climb. Is it with a company? Is it, you know, working for themselves? And figuring out that identity helps them a lot. You know what I mean? I went through that process myself. And, you know, one of the things I really harp about is being authentic at all times, and with everyone, especially with yourself. Once you find that authenticity, it's so much easier to figure out your personal roadmap on where you want to go. So those are the types of things I speak about. You know, I've never been married, so I don't do couples therapy or anything like that. You know, I refer them to somebody else, you know. So I speaking about what I've been through, speaking about what I know, that allows me, and this other key part, having tools set up that you can present to your clients is what also helps me to just release and say, okay, if you really want this to work, then this is what you need to at least try. You know, I'm big on meditation, so I give them various apps that they can try. Do you want guided meditation? Do you want music? Do you want no sound at all? Trying those different techniques and then getting feedback from them saying, oh no, I didn't like it, or no, it was a struggle. Those are the things that I speak about and help them to grow with.
John, you had anything?
I do. I just sort of jotted down my favorite saying when it comes to this. And that is, when your outflow exceeds your intake, your upkeep will be your downfall. And very simply put, everybody's got the buzz phrase that's used right now, which is bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
They stole it from the internet industry, but it's so true. I could care less what you want in terms of gig speed. If you don't have it, you don't have it. You can't give it. You wish you did. You wish you could. But no matter how gifted you are, there comes a point when the answer is no.
Yeah.
And for type A overachievers, that this call is for the people in the back, when your outflow exceeds your intake, your upkeep becomes your downfall.
We'll use that as the quote of the month on the Inclusion community board.
But very honestly, we have a horrible time telling folks no, especially folks that we're in relation with. You're my bestie. You want something, I'm going to give it to you. Don't have it to give, but I'm going to give it to you. You're one of my apprentices. You're my mentee. Hey, I'm going to pour into you. It's 3:00 in the morning, but I know you wouldn't call me at 3:00 in the morning unless you really needed it. Lie. At the end of the day, no is the most powerful concept. It's not just a word. It's a concept. Because what it means to me is I come first.
Right.
And I need to protect everyone else. Because if you suck the very life out of me, I don't have time to recuperate. And most on this call understand, if you need to go off the grid, let the folks know you're going off the grid and go.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the best thing in the world when you actually can turn your phone off, turn your computer off, and turn your brain off just for a season. But again, You've got to get to the point where that's normal for you.
Yeah.
Going off real quick. So you mentioned going off the grid, and my thought, I've been fascinated lately with these videos on YouTube of retrofitting ambulances and Sprinter vans as campers and just disappearing. And you still have access to a lot of your stuff, but I've just been fascinated with that lately. And it's I mean, it's really calming to me. It helps me, even though I'm not there, I'm fantasizing and I'm watching these videos, and it's just like, it just provides a serenity to me that I don't think that I've accessed before. And it's different from watching a race. I love sports cars too. So it's different from watching these videos on sports cars that I can't afford. It's so different, but I mean, it's being able to access a part of you that allows some type of freedom, right? And so I know I'm off topic, but it just brings that kind of thought process to me, and it's so calming and relaxing to me. So that's been my form of accessing and managing my own mental health to a certain extent, is diving into these fantasies of being able to live off the grid and just free of rent and everything else.
But that's what we call the nomad lifestyle. And, we at Incluzion, we've slowly been introducing the nomad lifestyle to our members, because it's really one of those things that a lot of people don't know about. But even to go back to what every one of you have said, I mean, you know me, like starting at, we got quotes now. Starting in 2019, and it's crazy because going into this 2019, I can honestly say that if I didn't get my reality check, I wouldn't be involved with Incluzion today. And I'm just being real, because this is, February.
You're learning something new here. Go ahead.
No, like seriously. And this is what we go through on Flexcon. It's the reality realizing moments. That if I didn't realize that my loyalty should not dictate my yes, I wouldn't have partnered with Jabril in 2020 of February. If I didn't realize that it's okay for me to be selfish for my immediate self, I can be selfish for the benefit of my immediate circle, I would not be here where I am today in a lot of areas, even servicing my clients or anything else. Because when I got that in July of 2019, do not let your loyalty dictate your yes, that was the loudest thing that I have ever heard. And I would say, even on the spiritual level, for me to get my act right, to not be the yes person all the time and learn how to say no. Because at that time, I was putting everything on the back burner for so many other organizations, for so many other people. Yes, I had my business. Yes, I had the kids and everything else. But it was that one thing where I had to step back, and literally my loyalty always dictated my yes, because I'm loyal to a fault. And I'm loyal to a fault that I would literally take a bullet, jump off the the building without a parachute, and still lay myself down in the middle of the street so you can be okay and cross the street not wounded.
Didn't that come from Kill Bill?
I don't know. But I mean, that's who I was. And again, if I never realized that at the moment that I did, Jabril may have had somebody else sitting next to him trying to, but I would say God and the universe, whatever you want to call it, knew what I needed, because I didn't know February of 2020 that a LinkedIn message would have resurfaced from a year ago that Jabril and I started for us to get connected on Incluzion. So it's really fascinating how things come full circle the way that it needs to, so you can be able to fulfill the purpose and serve the people that you're meant to serve.
Amen to that. Speaking about that purpose is, it sounds like it's all of our favorite topics, because we know what fuels us. It changes your life and makes it more fulfilled. So, yeah, I'm glad that email resurfaced as well, because what you guys have built with Incluzion has impacted so many, and it's only going to continue to grow and do more.
Thank you.
So to continue on with the questioning here, and we've been touching on this already, but what advice can you give to our listeners to maintain a positive mindset in the time and condition and political environment and non-political environments and everything else that comes with just living life here as a national citizen and as a global citizen and everything else? Who wants to jump in first?
My answer to that is, on all aspects of what you're saying, of dealing with it and different pressures, it always starts with gratitude. Remembering it can always be worse. As bad as the political climate is, and the different things we go through in this country, and the police brutality issues, it can still, even though it may not seem like it's something, it can still be worse. So finding something to be grateful for, waking up every morning, just starting with that gets momentum going. And that really keys into, being in line and starting that positive energy for the day. A lot of times we go to bed with things on our mind. What did I forget to do today? What do I have to do in the morning? And we never take that time to decompress and fully get into that rest mode. So we wake up in that same mindset. So it's like, when are you taking time to be grateful? Like, the most important time for me to do that is those first 5 minutes when I wake up. And it's hard for me to remember to do that sometimes because I have so much to do, like we all do. But just starting there and just saying, hey, this is what I'm grateful for. Thinking about it, letting those run through your mind. If you like one of those people who like to speak it, definitely do that, in the form of affirmations. But as long as it starts with the gratitude, the positive energy and that momentum will start to flow from then on. And that reduces frustration, that reduces anxiety, and it just helps you to be more prepared to take on your day.
Awesome.
I'll
Krista?
go. I'm sorry.
John, go ahead.
The one thing that I would give everyone is, it is acceptable and actually greatly beneficial to agree to disagree. We live in a society that has such diversity until it comes to opinions. Then all of a sudden, somehow we want everybody to agree. I read a book way back when I was a very young professional called A Whack on the Side of the Head. And it is a book on creativity. And one of the principles that it had in this book is called the second right answer. And it basically said 2 + 2 is what? 4. But so is 3 + 1. Does that mean that the first answer is wrong? No. It means that there is a second right answer. And it may not be your preferred answer, and it may not even be an answer that you thought about. If we just, as Konata started, not only be grateful, but also be tolerant that somebody may know something that you don't, we will agree to disagree until one of us has a revelation. And we may never have a revelation that the other person is right. But guess what? Their rightness or wrongness of an opinion means nothing about their worth as a person. And I don't know when we started doing this mess, but we will throw out somebody because we don't like their opinion on something. Are they a good person? Yeah, they're a great person. So why are you angry with them? Because they said, you just told me they were a good person. Agree to disagree. You can still be friends afterwards. You can still have spirited debates. And as long as you don't lay hands on anybody, you're good. But at the end of the day, that's not going to make that person evil, or good. It's just an opinion, y'all.
Great advice. Great advice. Krista, how about you?
Just to take that a little further, what I would say is don't take everything personally, especially in business. There are going to be things that don't go right, or someone's not going to be happy about something, and it's not about you. It's not always going to be about you. Don't make it about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've become so sensitive in so many ways because we are a little bit more isolated than we were. And I do think that being behind a computer screen that you can turn the camera off, you can certainly be a little more belligerent and disrespectful
Mm-hmm.
to others because you can hide. And I think that there's a lot of things that have been said and done in recent times behind those screens that someone has not had the courage to do face to face, but can easily do bullying behind a screen, a blacked out screen, or by typing a series of words.
Right.
That takes away accountability. And I think that not making it about you, taking accountability when you need to take accountability, when you accepting that you're a flawed person and take accountability and move on, but also developing boundaries, healthy boundaries, will make the way you interact with fellow human beings much more respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need right now, is that there's been such a level of disrespect because we've drawn apart so much behind this technology that I think that if we get back to being less sensitive, not making it about us,
Mm-hmm.
developing some boundaries and respect, I think that mindsets will change across the board.
So you make some great points there. You make a lot of definitely great points. And, I think that one of the takeaways for me is, this virtual environment that we've kind of embarked on or has sped into head on because of COVID. It's brought so many opportunities, but then it's highlighted so much of the negative tendencies of people. It's giving them an opportunity as well, and we have to be cognizant of that. We have to. We have to. It's interesting because in a meeting environment we've become more understanding of my 6-year-old could walk into the camera frame right now and everyone's fine with that, or fine with the shorts and a nice shirt and things like that, right? But we have grown. There's a level of lack of understanding now when it comes to so many other things that come with being human, right? And so we need to get back to that. So I just wanted to kind of echo that. Yeah, I definitely agree there. So
yeah, I just wanted to say what Krista was saying. I was turning around looking for my favorite book, or one of my favorite books, The 4 Agreements, because she mentioned 2 of them, and I was looking for my bookmark to mention the other 2. Don't take anything personal. That's so key. When I learned about that and really understood it, it makes things so much easier to understand and just let things fall off. So I was so glad to hear you say that. And the other thing about being honest, that's another big one for me, because what most people don't realize about that part of it is when you're lying to somebody else, or you're not being fully authentic, you're really lying to yourself. And that affects our outlook on so many things, from our leadership on down. We know what it's like to be lied to and repeatedly be lied to as a public. It just reminded me that when you brought up the political landscape right now. So I just wanted to add that. So I was glad Chris brought that up as well.
But I think we also, because now that we're remote, we have more time to spend on social media than being in an actual office where someone's monitoring, you know, you picking up your phone or what you're looking at on your laptop and stuff like that. And I think we've gotten more in the mindset of comparison. And that's where some of our problems lie, where we're seeing these perfect lives on social media and we're comparing our lives to like, oh, this person has it better, which then brings down our confidence and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, be okay in your own skin. Because when you talk about the positive mindset, when you talk about, you know, what is it that you can do? Yes, certain people put on, you know, for the gram, if that's what you really want to call it. But when you start looking at what you can bring to the table, and this is what we tell our members all the time. Like, I don't care if you're sitting at the table with a millionaire that runs or owns the company and he has $1 million bill in his pocket. You know just as much as he does or even more, because if the company was to go bottom up, does he know how to create the email funnel that you created remotely sitting at your, you know, desk? Does he know how to log into the email box to even set up an email address? So at the end of the day, when you're sitting at the table, and that's why I say take away the titles and look at your skill set. Because when you do that, you bring so much more to the table that you don't even realize, because again, you're looking at titles, you're looking at the influencers, you're looking at the name brand coding and all this other stuff. When you remove all of that and bring yourself, as Konata would say, authentically, you know, to just present yourself as you are, you'd be surprised as to how many people would gravitate towards you because you've allowed that space to now be open. And when you are living in times like this, there's so many people that we've encountered, you know, on social media, Clubhouse, and within our community are like, I don't know which way I need to go because I've lost my identity. You've lost your identity working for a company for 10, 15 years. And, you know, no slight to anyone, but again, me in leadership in corporate America was like vinegar and oil, because I'm like, you've been here for how long? And you're doing what? And then when I tell them that they're not meant to be here to go live your life and be happy, I get in trouble. I didn't care. But then at the same time, it's like, how can we get that message out to more people of, yes, you need a job to make an income, but what else can you be doing to put yourself on the next path that you need to travel on? And I think if you can break away from social media, the comparisons and who's better than who, I think the mindset will become more positive because you're now falling in love with yourself and not with the idea that someone's going to appreciate you for what you can give to them. Go after the path of what you need to go for to make yourself happy. And of course, if you have kids and all this other stuff, but even still, like, y'all know me, I draw the line somewhere. And at the end of the day, you have to be okay with that.
So we have a few more questions here for you all. And I just lost my questions. What's the next question, Ed?
Because I want to know. I know all of our members want to know this too. If you were to hire within your company today, what type of teammates are you looking for?
Not everyone at once. We have two business owners here, right, that are hiring. And we talked about this a little bit already, but let's revisit that really quickly.
I'll go. If I were hiring, I want individuals that have initiative, that are self-motivated, and creative, and feel comfortable expressing that quality in the job, and being customer service oriented, I think is important for me. You know, just understanding that using manners and just, you know, and being authentic. I mean, we've said that word's been said several times today. Just being authentic, just being genuinely yourself. I mean, that's the beauty about a lot of the things that we are doing now, is that people can come in and bring their personalities into the job follow procedures and policies, but still show their sides of themselves that bring something to the table. So, but my big thing is finding someone who's willing to take initiative, who's willing to say, hey, I see this area that you're lacking in. I have some ideas about that. And here they are, rather than having to micromanage someone and have to give them, X, Y, and Z, rather than them bringing something to the table to show me that they have interest in the job.
Okay. So not to put you on the spot, but are you looking to hire remotely anytime soon?
You're not putting me on the spot. I'm just thinking about if anyone would be interested in contributing to our virtual academy as far as submitting, curriculum for something like that, where we would do a series of videos for that. Yes, I would be willing to talk to people about that. If you are a woodwind or brass teacher, sure. I'm always looking for woodwind and brass teachers. So yeah, we do have some needs there.
Okay, so for everyone who's watching, for the whole month of March, we are allowing people to post jobs for free at a specific level. So I can work with everyone who is on this call today to make sure that I have your job requisites and make sure that you can get into your profiles if you are looking for new teammates virtually and remote. Anyone else?
I would say, because I've only been able to operate on a outsourcing and consultant level, like purposeful. But the thing that I look forward is people who have different traits and strengths that are opposite, or in different areas of mine. Like my strengths are very much A to Z. I can see how I want it to look, and how to get there, that's not my thing. And I understand that. So I try to hire people and work with people who can deal with the granular details of things that I may just overlook, or not even overlook, but not just want to deal with. Because when you're thinking big and you want to think bigger, you're always seeing the end goal. But how to get there can be a challenge for me because I'm spending so much time trying to think bigger. So I need people who know their strengths, know how they like to be taught, and know how they like to work, and are able to communicate that. But I also help them with that as well. So it's kind of I don't want to say a double-edged sword, but it's more of a two-sided opportunity to where know something about you, but also be willing and having a desire to learn more about yourself to improve and become more efficient and more powerful as a worker. That's kind of abstract, but when I talk to people one-on-one, I'm able to narrow that down even more.
Right. So not to put you on the spot, would you be looking to hire remotely anytime in the future?
Yes, it's a matter of in what position and for how long. I'm looking to get more stuff off of my plate so I can do more of that big thing. Like I said, I'm all about outsourcing. Like, here's what I need. Can you do it better than me? Good. Go do it. So it just depends on that.
Okay. Mr. Mason?
I need folks who can crash systems and system thinking. Honestly.
Can you please explain that? Unpack that, as you would say.
Everything comes in a box. I need a box. Let's teach. Everything comes in a box. And we get so used to putting things in a box that we get lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't think anymore about what else can we do. And what I need folks to do is to break the box. And then say, well, this is broken, it's useless. What else can we make out of it? What else can we do with it? And yeah, there's stuff in the box. What else can we do with it? How else can we do this process? Can we do it better? Can we make it easier? Can we make it faster? Can we make it more responsive? Because it's only until something's broken, it seems, that we even try to do something else. So I'm getting ready to step out into the unknown in a couple of areas. And I need box breakers. That's what I need. And answer to your second question, about 6 months. Okay. And that's when I'm going to need some folks because like Konata just said, you know, Fiverr is a beautiful company because there are some real hungry folks in Istanbul that seem to be up at all times of the day and night with ridiculous skills. And $5 goes a long way. However,
right, because we do have Incluzion has rolled out Black Fiverr. Did not think you would know that, but
I love the segue.
Right.
We're going to talk about that in a moment too.
And you know what? I think that if you gave us some press packs and some hot links so that we could actually put that on our social media sites and on our websites, that sort of stuff would explode so quickly because of the responsiveness. And back to Jabril's point that he started with, once you get immersed into this virtual world, there is a responsiveness that face-to-face just can't match because, you know, the insomniacs on this call every day that really are up at 4 o'clock in the morning as if it's noon. You send an email out and all of a sudden you got a whole conversation going on. How in the world is this possible? Put into that a global mindset and different time zones, man, it's a piece of cake. It's an absolute piece of cake. So yeah.
So to answer your question, we do have Incluzion affiliate programs, which we will be rolling out even more because of everything else that we are rolling out that we will be discussing after you leave the stage. But I will make sure that all three of you have everything you need to positively promote inclusion on an everyday basis. Jabril, you're on mute.
Yeah, now I was just going to jump in and we're going to talk about that. One of the things we're going to do as we had one last question, but we've kind of touched on this already.
We did. I don't think we're going to over the head again if we don't need to.
So I wanted to just jump into final remarks. As we do, we'll be kicking you all off the stage, back into the green room, and Eb and I will wrap things up. So final remarks, final just nuggets, gems, diamonds.
People find you. Like, I know Konata has a great assessment to teach you about yourself. Krista has a great journal. Mason has a book that is going to be revisioned or revised, since that is the word. He has, I mean, all three of you have a whole lot of stuff. So first off, how do you feel? You know, I asked that question. Did you like the experience? Anyone can go first.
I'll go first. I feel great. Like I said, I come into Flexcon always ready to learn, and that was covered over and over today. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of the opportunity from you and Jabril as always. But like I said, I grabbed a lot of nuggets, for lack of other cliche word. I'm not a big cliche person. But it was a lot of information that I really just am going to take and hone and utilize elsewhere and again and again. Best way to find me, especially when it comes to the personal and professional development, is on my website, kjnlegacy.co. That's kjnlegacy.co. Instagram is at KJN Legacy. The assessment that Ed was talking about, basically, like I was speaking on earlier, trying to help people, not trying, but effectively helping people to improve on their personal and professional development, improve their communication with other people at home, with themselves, most importantly, and really work towards being a authentic individual who's in alignment with what they're supposed to be doing. So we have a variety of ways we do that. We start off with the assessment, and that leads to a few other different pathways that we have available. Other than that, I just want to remind people about my MVPs: meditation, visualization, and prayer. Whatever type of prayer that works for you, do that. Whatever type of visualization works for you, do that. Meditation as well. My MVPs, fuel my MVPs. It's something that I have a program launching on in April that will fully break it down. But at its core, it's about doing those 3 things daily, because they are life changers. They are instance makers, and they will attract exactly where you want to be and where you want to go. Thank you guys again.
Thank you for joining us.
That's us.
Who's next?
All right, Krista, I'll go first. You're fine. Let me see. Final Nuggets. That's the book in its current format. You can find it on Amazon. It's a good one. You'll actually enjoy it. And my last nugget goes like this. Any organization that does not fuel your ability to dream is preparing you to die.
Wow. Okay.
And by that, I simply mean that our ability to dream is what keeps us absolutely engaged.
Mm-hmm.
It fuels the deepest core part of our being. You take away that, you might as well just go ahead and pick out the suit or the outfit that you want to be buried in. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is your bread and butter. That is who you are. That is what you're about. And we've all said it in different ways during this particular call, but we're here because we all dreamed.
Mm-hmm.
And because we all dreamed, the manifestation of that dream comes in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put yourself under or with dream killers. Don't do it, because you're going to die. You're going to wake up one day and have no reason to go to that place, no reason, if you take it one step further, to even open your eyes. And that's not what you're on this planet to do. There's so much work to be done. So please continue to dream and continue to prosper. Easiest way to get in touch with me, contact Ebb at Incluzion.
Contact Ebb at Incluzion. There you go.
All right. Since
my gosh, he
This
did a
is your
real
email
mic
address
drop,
too.
didn't he?
You literally put your email address. You have Ebb at Incluzion. There we go.
Right.
Email her.
Go ahead, Krista.
Man, I don't even know how to follow up that mic drop. Good grief. Thanks, Mason.
Just say contact Ebb at Incluzion. That's all you got to do.
See? For me, do the same thing. I'm just following. I'm doing what he's doing. Okay, so I'm going to do what he did. I'm going to hold up my journal.
I tried to solo it. Hold on. There we go.
There we go.
See, look, Mason, I got the solo here. So this is my journal. It has 5 different tabs so that you can do your thoughts sharing. You can doodle if you want instead of writing. You can write your inspirational quotes, everyday gratitudes, and then your self-love. And be you, do you, share you. That's my Flawsome logo. Got to love yourself, self-love. Also have a book coming out called Flawsome. It's going to be published out of the TBN publishing house in April. And it's kind of a mix of what music does to mental health, with mental health, and also some funny stories about me and my kids and how they impact my mental health on a daily basis. And what my little thing to say is love yourself and accept yourself for who you are right here, right now. Because every day you're just going to keep getting better and better.
Right.
It's just making sure that you accept who you are right now in the moment, and flaws and all. That's the most important thing. You're never going to be perfect. It's about progress, not perfection, and accepting that. Mm-hmm. The other thing I would add is learning how to not listen to the word no. You can say no, just don't take no as an answer on your dreams. Mason's telling you to dream. Yeah, dream. Just don't let anybody say no to your dream. You are going to run into naysayers. I run into naysayers all the time.
She is
tell me I can't do certain things. I will tell you. I hear can't be done all the time. Can't be done all the time. But you know what? I'm going to try anyway. If I fail, at least I know that I tried it instead of having a regret. So if you have a dream, if you have a business you want to start, if you have a trip you want to take, if you have a book you want to write, do it. The only one stopping you is you. Don't let anybody else, don't let anybody else steal that from you. And to find me, if you're interested in private music lessons, and that's for anything, including voice, you can go to our website, which is garrettmusicacademy.com. And we also have our page there for the mental health program, if anyone's interested in that, as far as our Find Your Voice program. For anyone that's interested in Flawsome and doing individual coaching with me, I do have a separate website for that. It's iamflawsome.me. And again, products are there as well. But if you want to do some one-on-one journaling and coaching with me, you can get a hold of me through that website as well.
But to add something that pretty much all of you have said, find people that are willing to fail with you. Like, we think that we have to travel this journey on our own. I think that's part of the problem. We become lone stars. I used to be the president and the CEO of the founding company, and John will just sit there and laugh at the same time because it's true. Until I learned to find people who are willing to fail with me. Like, I know Jabril, he'll say, okay, I'm not going to build anything anymore, and he'll build it. And then we're up at 12 o'clock at night testing it, because we want to make sure it's right. And then Krista will say, okay, let's jump out the plane and throw our bras in the air and then hope that we land, because our bras are going to be our parachutes. I'm willing to do that. So find the people that are willing to fail with you and support your dream as much as you would support theirs, because we give so much of ourselves. We give so much to other people. And it's not always a factor of it being a give and take situation. Like, we talk about servant leadership, and every one of you are servant leaders in your own right. But find people who are willing to fail with you. Find people who are willing to go on the journey with you. And when it comes to our members in the inclusion community, we are willing to walk hip by hip to help you along this journey. So I think everyone should be able to find that failing friend, if that's even a title, to go on this journey with you.
I agree. This has been great, everyone. Thank you. Round of applause, virtual round of applause for our panelists. Everyone who has participated here today. We're going to kick you all to the green room. If you all want to continue to watch, definitely do so. And Eb and I, we're going to wrap this thing up. Flexcon, the March edition. 2020. First one of 2020, ushering in 2021.
Yeah.
You said 2020. See, 2021. All right. Thank God.
Is this the anniversary? Is this the anniversary month of Flexcon? Like, didn't we start March of last year in 2020?
March, April. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember. We might have to figure out some type of party, because a party is overdue, right? So
right, a virtual party. Everyone is invited.
All right, I'm kicking everyone else off. Thank you all again. All righty.
That was a lot.
That was a lot of great information. A lot of great information.
I like this format. I really do.
Do you?
I do.
Do we Zoom? Is it zoomed in or this? Which one?
I'm talking about the format. That's what I'm talking about. The format of the panel. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'm looking at the video here. Like, which one?
Okay.
The format. I love the panel discussion. I do. It was interactive. Everyone was patient, and they worked off of each other's energy.
Yes.
Right. So I think that was great. You know, in many instances, when it's a one-on-one situation like us, in our situation, you know, we know each other to the point that we can build off of each other's energy. But especially in a one-to-one guest situation, trying to make sure that that energy stays flowing, we can do that with a panel, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I love it. I do. I wanted to go back to what we were segueing to, which was around John's comment around Fiverr and being able to access Fiverr. So one of the initiatives that we have right now is called Black Fiverr. And what is Black Fiverr? So, you know, Incluzion started around more freelance as the buzzword term that we were using. And as COVID happened, we transitioned to remote. Remote encompasses full-time work that's done virtually. And then, but it also encompasses virtual work, of project-based work, right? And so a lot of our focus is still around being able to connect companies, connect people who need to access a skill set and a project base. And as we kind of expanded it and transitioned into remote work with the remote focused jobs board and so forth, still wanted to keep that essence of what we started with. And so Black Fiverr is the answer to that. So what we've actively been doing is cataloging the level 1 and level 2 freelancers on Black Fiverr and indexing them into our platform, a secondary platform that we have that is called Incluzion. Well, it called Incluzion Freelance, but it's Incluzion Marketplace, which is a marketplace of remote services that can be accessed. So if we don't have someone directly within our platform that's offering that service, it's still going to pull up the indexed freelancers that are on Fiverr as well. And these are level 1, level 2 freelancers that are doing excellent work on Fiverr. And you'll still be able to access someone black or brown that's on that platform providing, like I said, an excellent service, right? And so you'll be able to get what you need done, right? And I think that was something that was important. That's something that I've always wanted to do. I didn't know necessarily how to do it. I didn't, you know, in so many instances, I'm also trying to figure out what's the business model around it. Well, right now for us, you know, there's really no business model around this. It's providing a service to the community on both sides. People who want to, of course, offer their services on a project basis, but then the companies that want to access that. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you go to blackfiverr.com, that will take you to that portal where you can look up the different service providers that we've indexed into the system. Yeah.
Yes. And if you are a freelancer, you can promote yourself on that same platform. Just create a profile.
Yes.
Your services. I mean, you pretty much are in the same filter of everybody else, and you can showcase who you are as needed.
I'm just going to drop it here for everyone as well. Blackfiverr.com. So, yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, and that's what I meant. That you don't have to be signed up on Fiverr. You can just index and add your service directly within the site without being on Fiverr, but as a way to supplement things and make sure that as someone who needs access to a service, we can provide the best, you know, way to present everyone. We've been doing that as far as indexing people in. So I think it's something that we're working on. It's a baby of mine that necessarily isn't our upfront service anymore as far as freelancing. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn, and the challenge and the readjustment and and being able to, I hate the P word. The P word is pivot, because
I love the P word.
I don't like it, because I felt like when we pivoted from Spend With, as far as the cultural shopping platform, to Incluzion, which was completely different, to me, that's a pivot. Everything else is just reiterating, right? Because we're still focused on talent, right? We're focused on.
We are. But pivoting, and so it's funny you say this, because we've actually talked about this on Clubhouse, that pivoting doesn't necessarily mean that you're starting over, first and foremost.
That's true. That is true.
Secondly, to me, pivoting can definitely mean purpose, intentional, visionary, out of the box truths.
Oh.
Right. So
you dropped an acronym on me I've never heard of before.
Right. Because
say it again. Say it again.
It's purpose, intentional, visionary, out of the box truths. So when you see a problem, Jabril, you see that there's a purpose and intentional. You're the visionary, and you're always taking things out of the box to give the true moment of what the problem is, the solution. So that's why I love the word pivot, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to start over, but the pivot is always purpose, intentional, visionary, out of the box truths for where you are in that moment. And when you identify why you need to pivot, how you need to pivot, and sometimes that full plan isn't there, but like you would bring us in as a team to say, hey, can you test this? Does it work? Does it make sense? That's the reason why the word pivot doesn't necessarily always have to be that negative connotation that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, we got to do this. It's really, really one of those things of, if you're not pivoting, then you're going to be stagnant somewhere. And the pivotal growth of where, I mean, let's just drop numbers. What? March of 2020 last year, we were at 220 something members. A year later, we are at over 3,000 members in the community. Mm-hmm. Not even talking about how many jobs have been posted, not talking about how many of the great big projects that we've been able to secure, not talking about how many other people that we have been able to reach now with Clubhouse and all this other stuff. To me, we were able to reach that success because we pivoted somewhere.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Flexcon is one of these pivots, right? Flexwork TV, which is an initiative that we still have going on as well, providing the same, utilizing the same platform, StreamYard, to bring content around even the job opportunities that are out there, right? Having these conversations on a more frequent basis with special guests, right? So that's another thing. The remote jobs board, the remote community, right? We've been able to bring in our own social platform, right? Something I put on Twitter, and it was more so around the learning. I said, hey, we're an ed tech company too, and we own our own code. It's our code, right? I was being petty because, I sometimes.
I guess the question is, who started it? Because you're not petty unless somebody else starts it.
Well, there's so many platforms out there now, and you could build a community around it. Like the Mighty Networks platform and things like that, where you can, you have the learning platform and stuff like that, or Teachable, Coachable, whoever, you're leveraging someone else's platform as you build a community and technology around, or building as you build a community. But that's one of the investments that we made is, okay, everything's built into something that we run, we own, we service, right? Mm-hmm. We're servicing this. Sometimes there are glitches here and there. Hey, if you come across a glitch, if you're watching, email me, let me know so we can get it fixed ASAP, right? But those things come. So it's important with, I think it's kind of like, it's just ownership, right? So, this is a Black-owned company. Mm-hmm. Our company is, right? It's Black-led. Our service base of professionals goes beyond just Black Latinx women professionals, right, that are working remotely. But at the same time, I think that that's something that's important around ownership, especially around the technology, right? So the other pivot is the remote jobs board, though, being able to connect and highlight and bring in additional people. So we've initially, our remote jobs board, it was all paid. So we've been piloting the opportunity to post a job freely, right? And so I think that that's definitely increased the amount of opportunities. A lot of the opportunities that we were getting and hosting on the jobs board were six-figure jobs, 100,000 plus jobs. And those aren't just all of the remote opportunities that are out there, right? So many great platforms for building community. That is true. Definitely is.
Thank you.
Just want to throw that out there. So now we've been able to bring in opportunities, because through the free posting, we've been able to bring in and host opportunities that are, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 ranges, right? And that's important. That's important for facilitating, continuously doing what we do, which is connecting companies and connecting professionals with great remote opportunities with this democratized way of economic empowerment. So that's my spiel around our pivot, in addition to the learning platform that's out there, the upskilling platform that we have, the community that we built around it, right?
Yes.
The social style community as well, and Black Fiber.
Right. So talk about pivoting. We went from Upskill 30 to, I think, Upskill Infinity. We started out with Upskill 30 as 30 hours of live training starting the first Thursday of February. But as we started to have more sessions, thank you to those members who have been faithfully joining Thursdays. We have added more one-on-one training as well. And the reason why I did that is because I know that I can move 10,000 miles an hour. And what I don't want to happen is that someone gets lost somewhere and is not able to properly or effectively put the tools to use that we're giving them. So with that, we have extended upskill training all the way out until September. It's 2 weeks of group training and 2 open weeks of one-on-one training, all for free. So that's why we have now called it Upskill Infinity, because at the end of the day, we're not putting a limit on how many hours. We're not putting a limit on how many times you may say, hey, how can you, switch the colors on the website that we're building. And yes, I will be teaching you how to build a website without coding. I will be teaching you how to build an app without coding. If anyone wants to learn about ownership of creating their own social economic communities or your learning platforms, you're looking at 2 people that know how to do it in their sleep. So when we talk about ownership, if you're a content writer, a coach, an educator, and, again, we're not putting ourselves out there as the bullies of the other entities that I'm not going to name. But when it comes down to empowering you financially, think about how much money you have to spend to those entities to provide your course. Not only that, once you pay out, it's really one of those things of, do you really have the leverage of connecting with your content followers or your participants of whatever course that you're putting out there? You may be limited. So we know how to build out certain platforms that you have full control over your finances, minus the 2.95% that you may have to pay out to PayPal, Stripe, or whoever else, and plus the 30 cents. You also have freedom of how you want to create it to brand it. You also have freedom of how many courses you put out there. And yes, there is a cost to this, but the amount of monthly charges that you would be racking up with these entities, you could have saved that and then some by having your own platform. So that was a shameless plug to hire Incluzion to help you build out your own economic empowered community, however you want to do it. But going back to Incluzion for upskilling, that is a very near and dear project to me, because it's not even a project, it's our lifestyle. What we want to do is help everyone learn as much as they can. And it's not just coding or how to write a resume, it's how do you deal with the crap that you've been dealing with on an everyday basis? How do you deal with your 10-year-old self that may be triggered in an interview because of rejection? How do you deal with the things that you may not have dealt with because you swept it underneath the rugs for 10 years? And it's like, now it's creeping up in your life because you're now making a pivot of decisions in your career, personal, professional purpose. But because you have hidden them so long, you now have to deal with it. And that's the reason why we call it upskilling. It's not just hard skills, it's also the soft skills. The other thing that we are going to be intentional about is rolling out an inclusion internship platform. Once we do that, we can now say that inclusion is the place to be, the one-stop shop for your interns, your freelancers, your remote workers, the people that we are actually servicing. And I dare to say that inclusion also now offers consulting services. So with that, you can come to us for anything and everything that you need. And it's not going to be one of those things of that we can't properly connect you with members, because once you submit your job requisite, it's not just sitting there. Jabril will go live the moment a job posting comes in. Regardless of what he's doing, I'm pretty sure he stops. So put on his camera, as you can see, that is high def, that he can shoot a whole movie with.
Except when I bang on the table.
Right. You can see the gloss, you can see the dimple, you can see everything. Like, that's how he would jump on there, promote your job opportunity via camera. We also have an ambassador by the name of Soul. She does hers. We promote it on Facebook, the community, Instagram, Twitter. We have a Facebook group now because we want to be more intentional of nurturing those who have not migrated over to the community as of yet. So with one free, let's get this right, with one free job posting, you can be featured on the website. But if you go at the higher paid levels, you can get a highlighted video of the job. Mm-hmm. It is promoted on YouTube and everything else. If somebody says, I need to see the receipts are on YouTube, the receipts are in the community, Facebook, and everything else. So we're very, very transparent of what we bring to the table and what we're offering. And when it comes down to the upskilling piece, I'm so serious that if there's something that you need to learn, that you want to learn, and you haven't seen it done, please let us know, because I have no problem writing a curriculum in 3 hours if I need to make sure that you are being served the way that you have to. One thing that we realize is that people are just thrown to the workforce and not properly trained in certain areas. And even if it comes down to learning your communication style or whatever that is, your love language, people thought I was crazy when I said you need to know your love language as a person. Why? Because there are so many things that are attached to your love language that you don't realize until you're not getting what you need, even in the work environment. Your values play a big part in who you partner with for your 9 to 5. Again, totally understand that you need a job, but that job that is keeping you up at night, giving you heartburn, a possible stroke is not worth it. Let us help you align with the purpose job opportunity that is out there for you. So with that, I am excited for this to be Flexcon. Jabril has something to say.
When you talk about connecting, one of the things that's important about ownership, especially around technology, is to be able to add in those bells and whistles and features, right? And so one of the recurring things that we had as I go out and I post jobs in different groups and online and so forth, I have people reaching back asking about the job in particular, right? And a lot of times I couldn't answer the question because, we're posting the job on behalf of a client that's come in and posted. We're reposting it out, on social media and so forth. Built into the community that has the jobs board built into it, that has the Black Fiverr built into it, that has the learning platform built into it, is now the opportunity. So when someone posts a job, when one of these recruiters, HR personnel, when someone posts a job, you have the opportunity as a professional, as a potential candidate, to engage that person directly in the platform. Now we've set up mechanisms so you don't just people aren't just spamming the recruiters and so forth as they post these positions, but you have the opportunity to click that button that says, contact employer, ask that person a question, make your impression right then and there, to that person that has posted the job within our platform. So that's important. So we've built that in as a feature as a result of professionals directly asking me, and I'm not being able to necessarily service and provide an adequate answer on behalf of that position. So we have those things that are being built in. We're constantly adding additional features. We're adding on additional services. Mm-hmm. We hadn't talked about the fact that MoveOn.org chose Incluzion exclusively
twice
to source their CTO.
Yes.
Shay is not on. Has Shay been on one of these FlexCons? Shay doesn't work on Sundays.
She don't work on Sundays.
She doesn't work on Sundays.
But you know what? We say that not to joke around, but when we talk about boundaries, that's her boundary.
That's her boundary, and that's why she hasn't been. Exactly.
And we accept it. And we don't work every Sunday, but we do FlexCon on Sundays because we realize, again, our community is just winding down and they have time to watch and everything else. But just like Shay does not work on Sundays, if you find a company and you want the flexibility because you're a parent or whatever else, and you really don't want to work a full day on Friday, look for the company that will allow you to work maybe a half a day on a Friday and not be stuck with the company that's going to force you to work on a Friday. That's what we mean by knowing your values, knowing your boundaries, and knowing your worth. Because again, we think that we need the company, we need them to some degree, but they need us. And when we understand that, then the journey for what we're trying to accomplish becomes so much easier. Exactly.
And Shay, we're gonna have to get you on a FlexWork TV episode then throughout the week, so we can talk about this, talk about some of the amazing retained search agreements that you've been able to capture here at Incluzion. I mean, and specifically right now, to me, it's a big deal. When MoveOn, their CTO moved to the Biden administration.
Right.
That's why their CTO left, right? To move to the Biden administration. And so for them to choose Incluzion as the company to go out and source that new CTO, it's big shit to us. It's big shit to me, for real. It's a big deal, and so those are some of the things that we're doing around with Incluzion and being able to service so many aspects. And we're of course looking for additional team members. We're looking to grow the team. We're looking to possibly, I may not be doing a FlexCon, right? It may not be an IB. It may be another ambassador that we've been able to bring on that facilitates these conferences, right? So we're looking for those individuals to come on as we grow as a team, as an organization. If you're out there, you know how to find us. Reach out.
Definitely. So I'm excited. I would say that the next FlexCon will be in 3 months. But let's keep that schedule. So be on the lookout for more information about the upcoming FlexCon event. Definitely, if you want to start looking for another job opportunity and you do not have your profile set up on inclusion.co, please do so. And even if you're kind of iffy about your resume, hit me up. I would sit on the phone and help you analyze your resume, tear it apart, put it back together, whatever you need to do. If you find a job out there that you feel that you do not qualify for because of the title, get rid of the title and look at the skill set. If you fit the skill set, apply for the job. If you're still unsure, just hit us up. We'll get on the phone and we'll say, yes, you need to we'll walk you through the process along this journey because it's that important to us. We don't want you to feel as if that you're out there fending for yourself or anything else. We are here to help you. And again, at no charge. Please do not feel as if you have to pay us $10,000 just to redo your resume. No. What means the most to us is the fact that you have trusted us to help you with the most crucial part of your life. We can't ask for anything else besides that, of the trust and the confidence that we can help you get to the next level. And knowing where we are financially today with, you know, the economic of the stimulus, the not stimulus, you losing your job or whatever else, we want to be mindful that we're not just causing more stress so you can get to the next level.
I've added that the resume hacks group in the community. I haven't started adding content. One of the reasons why I added it is because as I peruse TikTok, I get to resume TikTok or jobs TikTok. And so there's a lot of great videos that I'm going to start linking to that group. I think we're going to change the name to something else.
Yeah,
job hacks.
We want to call it job hacks.
Okay, job hacks. So that when you actually go to the community, you're going to see it's called job hacks, but it's going to have a lot of resume hacks in there, a lot of videos, a lot of content that I've kind of come across, articles and so forth that I've come across on social media that we can link to as well. So, and then if you come across anything, post it in the community as well, right? One of the things that we wanted to, when we look at as a startup, I have to look at, and I was just revisiting and or adding in, improving our pitch deck, right? And so, you know, sometimes you want to stick to that 10 slide pitch deck. And I think our pitch deck right now for the one that we would turn into, you know, investor style pitch deck is about 18 slides, because I've taken screenshots of the community, a screenshot of the jobs board, a screenshot of Black Fiverr and the learning platform as well. And those are its own slides, right? And so being able to present, you know, inclusion in the community and the engagement in the way that we need to is definitely important, right? So, and I think I just lost the original reason why I was talking about that, but that's fine. We'll leave that for another day.
Was it because people say, oh, you're doing too much, and we be like, we don't care, we still gonna do it? Or is it because we need to prove ourselves to the people that think that we don't know what we're talking about, but we still do it anyway?
Woo!
We can go there.
We're not doing too much. Y'all, for the people who say that we're doing too much, it's because they aren't doing enough. I'm just gonna say it like that. Shots fired. Yeah, if you're saying we're doing too much, you're not doing enough. We're bridging a gap between professionals and opportunities around remote work, right? And that's going to be important. That's the future. I was on a call, and I'm not going to say what organization, SHRM. What is it? How do you say it? SHRM, SHRM, right? Anyway, so it was a pitch competition, and one of the judges asked, well, are you just focused on remote work and that's it? There's a reason why. There's a reason why. And right now, you're going to find Inclusion is one of the few organizations that has a diversity focused around exclusively remote. And I know there's organizations that out there that are still, no, remote. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you think of inclusion and think about what we do and why we're doing so much. And everything, how things come together as far as the full context goes.
Right. So with that being said, I'm thinking about for the month of May, if you're listening out there, let me know. For anyone who is a female parent, mother, whomever that wants to learn how to become a virtual specialist, aka a virtual assistant, I have no problem taking the whole month of May on Saturdays to teach that course. So by the time you come into the month of June, you would know how to fully take the skill sets that you have to start promoting yourself. Well, if it's on, I would hope it's on Inclusion, as a freelancer or whatever you want to call yourself as a virtual specialist. If you know how to create schedules for your kids, you know how to handle somebody else's calendar. If you know how to budget because you're shopping, you know how to handle books, you know, at least the basics. If you know how to organize 3,000 projects at home between cleaning, cooking, and everything else, I can teach you how to manage projects virtually. And that's been sitting on me because we've had a lot of people feel as if that they need to transition in the admin world working for corporate America, but don't know how to transition on how to effectively promote themselves remotely. And when I tell people you can promote yourself remotely for a 9 to 5, but you can also promote yourself as a freelancer as well. 2 different worlds in some instances. But 4 weeks, just give me 4 weeks and I can put you on the path of being able to become a virtual specialist or a virtual assistant. That means you can be an executive assistant to a CEO of a small business. You can be a virtual assistant to a CEO of a big company, whatever you want to call it. But we are here to make sure that you have the tools and the resources that you need to make the path more comfortable and easy, because it doesn't have to be hard if we know that we can help you along with it.
First of all, I have to process the fact that within this learning portion of the community, that learning platform that we have built, you know, you're offering, first of all, the Upskills Bootcamp.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're merging that with the initiative around interns, right? Because there's a program surrounding interns that we're releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Then the general ability for anyone to upload a course for free on our platform, right? And to add to the content. Now you're also providing, and you're going to be facilitating for 4 weeks, the ability to empower, because I talk about economic empowerment, empower mothers to become their own virtual assistants, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's what I'm talking about. My dog. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, my forte isn't on the coaching side. It's on the tech side, and a few other things, whatever. But that's one of the things that when the learning platform initially came up, we talked about, and then, you know, I poked about using other platforms, but my answer to that was, hey, let's build our own platform, because we can combine it all together into this one place, right? For as far as the learning goes, and we've been able to accomplish that. So this is great. Jump into the inclusion ecosystem. Jump in, no matter what level you're at, whether you're on the talent acquisition side, whether you are hiring, whether you are talent, whether you're the candidates or professionals. Jump into the ecosystem. We are happy to have you to be part of our community.
So I don't see any more questions. So Christine,
Krista's website.
I did put it in the YouTube chat. I think there's a delay on when they pop up, but I did put both of Krista's websites in there for imflawsome.me and garrettmusiccommunity.com. And then we'll also post this as a recap within the community, so everyone can see the resources of the speakers and everything else of, you know, what you're asking. But again,
so if you go to inclusion.co or .com, then you will also be able to get all the information. You'll see the recap, everything that's involved with. We'll drop all the information for our guests as well. Yes.
So what else? I think that we did good for the first one for 2021.
I don't want to stop. I can keep going.
I know.
But I done ran out of. My mouth is getting dry and all of that. So with that, everyone, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you all back in Q2.
Yeah.
It's Q2. January, February, March. Okay, it's almost Q2. We'll see you back officially in Q2 for the next Flexcon that's coming up. Until then, stay tuned for FlexWork TV episodes. Stay tuned in the community as well. And we'll see you when we see you.
Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.